You know when you want to talk about your weekend in Japanese, but you don't want it to sound like some super rigid, boring list? Well, there's a fantastic grammar pattern for exactly that. Today, we're going to break down Tari-Tari-Suru. It's a really simple tool that's going to make your Japanese sound way more natural. So let's jump right in.
So what is this thing really? Well, at its core, it's your go-to for talking about all sorts of different activities. Like describing a vacation, a really busy day, or just what you do on holidays. This structure lets you give a sample of those activities, which honestly just creates a much more natural conversational feel.
Okay, so to really get this down, we first have to understand its core function. Think of it less like you're writing a factual report, and more like you're just painting a picture of your day.
Right, so this is a big one. This grammar is absolutely not for a strict timeline, like first I did A, then I did B. Nope. Instead, it gives a more general vibe, like, yeah, I did things like A and B. You're just giving a few examples, not a complete exhaustive list. The whole point is to capture the overall feeling of your activities.
So the big question is, how do we actually build this thing? Let's take a look at the blueprint. And the good news is, it's actually a super simple and repeatable formula.
It's basically a four-step process, and it's really straightforward. First, you take your verb and put it into its short past form, the ta form. Step 2, you just swap that final ta for tari. Easy enough. Step 3, you just do that again for another action you want to mention. And then, step 4, and this is the most important part, you finish the whole phrase with the verb suru. That final verb, well, it's basically the master switch for the whole sentence.
All right, now this is absolutely crucial. The tense for your entire list of activities, whether you're talking about the past, the present, or the future, is all controlled by that one little verb at the very end, suru. Seriously, it's like the power switch for the whole sentence. So, for example, if you end your sentence with shimasu, that's the formal version of suru, right? The whole thing describes something that happens regularly or will happen in the future. You're saying, I do things like cook and watch TV. See? The tari parts don't have any tense on their own. All that power is packed into that final verb. Okay, now watch this. All we're going to do is change that last word. If we switch it to shimashita, the past tense form, the entire meaning flips to the past. Now it's, I did things like cook and watch TV. Nothing else in the sentence changed. It's a perfect example of how much control that final verb has.
And we can even take this a step further. What if we end with shiteimasu? Well, now we're talking about actions that are happening right now, in progress. I am doing things like cooking and watching TV. This could mean literally what you're doing at this moment or just what your activities have been like lately.
Okay, so we have the blueprint, and we get how to control the tense. Now it's time to put it all together and see how this grammar actually works in some real-world sentences.
Let's take a look at our first example. This one's about Tero's weekend. The sentence is basically saying he did things like studying and talking with his friends. You see how that gives us a general vibe for his weekend? It doesn't put things in a specific order, and it's not claiming this is the only thing he did.
So, let's break that one down. We've got benkyou shitari, which comes from the verb for to study, and hanashitari, from the verb to talk. Those are our sample activities. And then, right at the end, you see that shimashita? That's what locks the whole sentence into the past. It's a perfect example of the rules we've just been talking about. Here's another great one. This sentence is describing a busy park scene. It says the kids are doing things like running and playing. This grammar is perfect here because it helps paint a picture of all this stuff happening at the same time, not like a one after the other sequence. And if we look at the pieces, we've got hashittari for running and asondari for playing. But the real key here is that final verb, shiteimasu. That's our signal that this is an ongoing scene, like a snapshot of what's happening right now. So there you have it. It's a super flexible, really natural way to talk about a mix of activities. You get the main rule, you know how to build it, and you know how to control the tense with just that one final word. The only question now is, how are you going to use it? Think about it. What are some things from your own day that you could describe using Tari-Tari-Suru?